SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure monosity. What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is, as indicated several times, the I Speak Jeep podcast. I know it just sounds so cool, though. I felt the spirit today.
Oh boy.
Presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil, as we said in that very lovely intro, and I am joined, as the usual, with the producer and the mad scientist. And I'll let them do their thing.
Go ahead, Jeff.
All right. Well, Jeff, the producer, and
I'm Jeff.
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 Too
much coffee.
So, yeah, it's too much coffee. I'm still thinking about what we were just working on, so my mind's not
Okay.
completely on this episode yet.
Okay.
Chuck's saying good morning, so good morning,
Morning,
Chuck.
Chuck.
Morning, Chuck.
And other than that, make sure you go on, like,
He is,
subscribe.
somehow we have thrown him a hard curveball. Jeff, we need to hit the reset button
Right.
for you, man.
Scott, do your intro.
Okay. I'm the mad scientist, Scott Brown, and just wait for this. I'm the frame painting artisan this morning. and they're done.
That made it worse.
So much worse. Did it! Oh my God!
I have the joy of watching or listening to the other podcasts that you want to tune in. We'll be releasing soon, and that is a snippet that will be coming up, so you have to watch.
I
and
can't
listen.
believe he just did that to
Scott
us.
did that.
And the plug, it was so
the
good.
plug it was amazing.
Oh.
Scott, so
I do my
folks,
best thinking when I'm doing monotonous
think-
work.
when I'm doing monotonous work.
I think you just earned the title of producer. I'm just going to slap the computer over.
No, we don't want to do that.
Jeff is done. As Scott is indicating, and for some reason why Jeffrey's brain is racing, we are working on a secondary podcast. We were a bunch of episodes deep at this point. It will be launched and released April 19th to the public, and it will be released earlier to our Patreons. We thank you for that support. And it is a podcast regarding, basically entrepreneurship, leadership, self-development, and a little bit of what the secret sauce of what makes SFJ 4x4 tick outside of, say, the automotive community or the automotive technical
Other than just
pieces.
eat, sleeping, and drinking Jeeps.
Right. Other than that, it's the actual kind of core pillars of what makes us uniquely us. So that's the other podcast. You're definitely going to want to be tuned into that. We encourage you to head over there, check that out.
April 19th is the release date.
April 19th. Yep.
That might have something to do with the title.
Maybe.
Easter egg.
Nice.
So anyways, real quick.
Today's title, the Easter egg episode.
Easter eggs, yep.
Yes, and it is episode 69. So Easter eggs.
So real quick, Daddy Jeep saying morning, guys, and Amy saying good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, we're going to be talking today about Easter eggs. We're going to be talking a little about the EJS concept vehicles. And then for our hashtag not sponsored, we're actually talking about hashtag sponsored because we're talking about a product that we produce in-house,
Yep.
which is just a fun little piece that we want to make people
And you're going to
aware
want
of.
one.
And good morning, Dale.
Yep. Good morning, Dale. And you're going to want one of these items that we're making here. So we'll be talking about all of that. Again, as we normally do, we'll do an update of our own personal projects. We all have interesting, unique Jeeps and Jeep stories, but the Jeep lifestyle, the part of I Speak Jeep, is about being a DIYer, about chasing your dreams, about doing things that you might not exactly have all the answers to right here and now, but it's about expanding into those things and figuring them out, right? And that could go for the adventure seeking of overlanding and camping, or your standard DIY household projects, which we all are very much involved in. So Additionally, you're also going to get to hear about Jeffrey's budget and his big camper build.
Who said anything about a budget?
Oh,
there it
away.
is.
Have we thrown it away?
We're a little over.
Uh-huh.
We'll talk about that.
And my house build and Scott's traditional hot rod. So, I suppose without further ado, we can jump into those things, right?
I think we let Scott go first today.
Okay.
So I didn't do much on the car this week, but I've been working on infrastructure and cleaning, trying to find tables and use cabinets that I've hoarded for years at this point. So
I think that's valuable just that we continue. First of all, it looks wonderful.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah,
can
the
follow
pictures were
along
great.
with just about any of our updates, minus mine per se. The Patreons get a view of mine because of for legal reasons, my oversized storage container that may or may not be a house. So our Patreons are in on that. If you're listening, we encourage you to check out the Patreon site. Maybe you think about joining there, and then you can see some of those updates. Otherwise, a lot of the other stuff, the guys' projects are available for public consumption on their Instagram and Facebook pages.
Occasionally, we'll release photos early on Patreon, but for the most part, or the Discord
I
channel.
have to remember.
Discord. Yeah, right?
Yep. The benefit to that Patreon, too, is if you join one of those 3 tiers, the top 2 tiers give you access to our Discord, where you get in a community chat room where we will pop in and out of. You'll see the many Lowe's trips, except this weekend because I totally forgot to take
I
pictures.
made up for it. I did too myself.
I also was at Lowe's as well. So
What?
we should have had coffee there, right?
Right? They have the
So-
coffee station right
I
inside the
looked
door, too.
longingly at the pro parking.
It's gotten to the point that because Lowe's has 2 different systems, register systems,
Right.
and if you're one of the pro accounts, they have to switch to a different system for you to scan you
okay.
so you get your rewards.
Because you're special.
It's gotten to the point that when they see me walk by, they immediately just switch over to that
Nice.
at the lumber
Nice.
yard
You're
side.
their
They
regular
know you
right
by
now.
name at
That's
this
currently
point.
your regular.
They asked me for the picture updates. I was like, wow, I'm here too often.
Wow. So the piece that I wanted to make sure that we keep revisiting, my lead up was about the fact that within Scott's the Scott Brown metal shop that he is developing there was a table
What's your artisan name
That-
for this shop?
that had a motorcycle on it, folks.
I did for 10 years.
And that motorcycle is now down.
Yes.
Is it
And
running?
where?
It is keeping the cold side company
The cold side of the garage. Now,
because we're flooded in the backyard.
but it eventually will get put out to pasture in one of his outbuildings.
Yes.
Folks, I really want to make sure that we keep touching on this, revisiting that there is a friendly bet between Scott and I.
Yeah, but you don't have a Jeep anymore.
I
though.
have a title
Oh,
that
boy.
says that I own a Jeep.
I have a vehicle, though.
There's a friendly bet of whether or not I have a scrambler.
Yep.
Or whether my scrambler or your motorcycle would be on the
But
road
I'd have
first.
to build the scrambler for you, so that I have already leg up.
He called you out.
Oh God, that hurts. That hurts. The truth hurts. Folks. The truth hurts. And that is that
It did
friendly
cross
bet.
my mind when I was taking it off the table. I was like, it's only sat up there and gotten dusty for 10 years, so it can come off the table.
That is a
before.
10-year running bet of
Yeah.
ours at this point. Neither of us are getting ahead on
No.
it. But that is a common thing in the back of my brain that if I get rid of that title, then I am really, really boned.
Are you listening, Ryan?
Could help Scott win the ultimate bet.
Right.
All right. So tell us, you were doing the infrastructure. Looks
Yes.
beautiful. Pictures look great.
And I added Beverly shear, a cheap one, onto the corner, and which of course meant I had to move the other shear that I just bolted down.
Oh
So
boy. Of
What
course.
what exactly is it that you added?
A Beverly shear.
What does that do?
That is a throatless shear. It allows you to take a piece of material and do curves and stuff with it as you slowly cut through. Gives you a nice clean edge. Where the shear I added, seems like last week, is just a straight cutter.
Okay.
And I'm where did you get the Beverly from?
It is a Harbor Freight.
Okay. Well, it's just interesting because some of your tools, I like the fact that you're breaking social norms and you are buying some of these tools from the old Harbor Freight.
Yep.
I think it's valuable to say that some of them you're learning the workarounds to say, hey, a pin needs to be reinforced here,
Yep.
and a piece needs to be gusseted there. Or there have been some unique older equipment that some folks have,
Yep.
bequeathed to you for holding on to or using in these projects. So
Well, I've been looking at Beverly's for a while now, and used ones are $400 to $500, and new ones are $800.
wow.
So I couldn't justify or afford that right now. So $170 or whatever it is at Harbor Freight. It was that, and there was a lot of I always look at the reviews, and a lot of people said that with a little bit of tweaking, they actually cut really nicely. Mine actually cuts nice out of the box. I was very happy.
Excellent. Excellent.
So
And that's the thing is, in a lot of machine shops or build shops, if you are using it in a commercial capacity,
yeah, that's bad.
right, that you might not get away with the Harbor Freight stuff. But all too often, if you are a single-use individual
DIY
or DIY, that
Or if you just need to get started, you need to learn how
you
to
got to
use
start
the equipment.
somewhere.
You don't want to break the nice equipment, so buy the cheap equipment, learn your craft, learn what you're doing, and then slowly replace and upgrade as you can afford.
I love that mantra, and it's just just getting started. Don't the idea? There's a meme out there with two people next to a ladder, and the rungs are kind of incrementally spaced and appropriate, and the ladder to the and that person is a third of the way up, and the ladder to the right is the rung is just too high for that person to even jump to. And they're still on the ground, and so I love in that capacity what you're saying is, hey, just start somewhere, start practicing, start doing stuff.
Now, a lot of little steps get you a
Well,
lot further than the
little
big
small
steps.
compounding steps.
Not only that, if you have the opportunity that you are in that, further up the ladder rung, and you are replacing those parts, find a younger guy that is aspiring and learning, and help him out. Pass those tools along.
Sure.
To allow him to get a foot in the door, kind of scenario.
And we can both speak from our own experience. We've had a lot of good mentors in our life.
100%.
So real quick, Darla's saying good morning. So good morning there.
Good morning.
Morning,
And
Darla.
then
Morning, Darla.
your wife Amy is saying anything worth doing is worth doing bad.
That's true. I had a hard time with that for a lot of years. That's true.
That is awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. So, Jeffrey, where are we at in your
I had
scheme?
a long day yesterday,
Yeah.
to the point that by evening time I said, you know what, we're just gonna step away and take a break. So we got the flat sheet metal in 29 gauge. It's actually slightly thicker than I was expecting it to be.
Okay.
And just me and Kristen trying to put this up on the sides of the camper.
And for those that don't know, we've had a wind for like a month.
Yeah.
We just go
steady,
away.
Steady hurricane force winds.
Yeah, yesterday was actually just a cold breeze, I would say.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
yesterday wasn't.
Yeah, it was mild.
It was mild compared to what it's been. And we're trying to put this metal, it's 4 foot by 10'6"
Oh,
sheet.
okay.
Yeah.
And we're trying to run them vertically up the camper so to minimize the amount of seams and do a 6-inch overlay and all that. Thankfully, Scotland
Vertically?
vertically, yeah.
Wait a second. I'm sorry.
So the 10 foot is
4
going
foot.
straight up, 4 foot wide,
So how tall is the camper?
just under 8 feet.
So we have we have a 28-inch overhang. Somewhere.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So what
That's fine. I wasn't ready for that.
So the
yep.
initial goal was, hey, we're gonna run them all up. I measured it out for 10 feet because that's what I was purchasing for those sheets. Measured it out for 10 feet. We got enough clearance. We'll just slap them up. I
What are
borrowed.
you
I
doing
said
with the
slap.
extra? Yeah, right. Slap. What are you doing with the extra 2 feet?
Well, not sure yet, but
Okay.
I'm gonna find a use for it. There's a lot of
Okay.
good metal there.
Well, no, I'm just saying. Okay, you weren't bending it; you're cutting it. Your
So-
objective is to cut it.
So
somehow.
yeah, so the initial plan was that we just slap it up and then cut it right off and be done with it.
Okay.
I found that
Slap it right up. He keeps going with the slap
Yeah.
right up. I feel like
It's
there's
touched him at this point.
there
He
was
knows
our-
this is not true.
yes.
So, anyways,
oh, okay.
So
My bad.
anyways,
I wasn't.
we went to put the first piece up and the bottom's curled on the ground. I'm like, wait, something's wrong. So I measure, it's actually 10'6". I'm like, well, that's a problem. We didn't account for that.
Okay.
So then we started just rough measuring. So there's only an inch or two excess hanging down, with the exception of the wheel wells, because I just kept the same length as I overlaid over the wheel wells. So there's still excess hanging down, but one side of the camper is completely sided with metal at this
Nice.
point. We only did a couple screws in each just to hold them in place, and then glued all the seams with that 6-inch overlay. I do have to go back and line up all the screws, put all those in yet, but
Mhm.
it is holding up. The next challenge was the door. We reused the old camper door.
Right.
ran into a lot of issues getting that fit properly because of the old door was warped, the frame was bent. So I did some metal fab work myself. Got everything good. I tore the glass out of the door, cleaned all the seams out, put new butyl tape and sealant in there. Went to put the glass plate back in right at the end of the day. Snapped the glass. Literally had the glass out, cleaned the stuff off the glass, did everything great. Snapped it. So then I went to Lowe's again and bought a sheet of plexi and just cut that down and put it in the window. So
I see. Sometimes we're just at the end of the day, and we're like, you know what? I'm just done with this.
I was literally, I was gently pressing it in, and it just snapped right in the middle, and I just stared at it, and I looked over at my wife. She just starts cracking up. I said, I'm done. I'm going to Lowe's and buying a piece of plexi. We're going to put it in. I don't care.
Yes. And not to steal your thunder, I recognize that. I too had the end of my project day yesterday end up with, I'm just going to have to put in a replacement piece, right? So what started as I walked across one of the small rooms, which is going to be a large bath and potentially a main entryway. So it's going to see a lot of traffic. And as I walked across, and again, if you've been following along, I really don't like squeaky floors. And
Did
so
it squeak on you?
it squeaked at me.
Oh boy.
And
How did
How?
that 6 inches of floor
so
squeak?
it was just a particular room that I hadn't done any reinforcing in yet.
But it was
right?
reinforced before you started.
So I started to cut a little like inspection hole.
Uh-oh. I know where this is
Which
going.
then turned into a bigger inspection hole.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Which
You
then,
found damage.
which then I found damage.
Yep.
Yes.
So then I did this whole.
This is your camper all over again, Scott.
I did this whole boxing, framing, and of course the whole thing is, oh well, I'm happier that I did it now.
Totally. But it still sucks in
And
the
it
time.
still sucks. So I've got these beams all sistered, and I had to, put in all these different, kind of reinforcing 2x4s
So
and
you found
box
a lot
stuff
of
out.
damage. We're sistering things.
Oh yeah.
real quick, just to catch up on comments. Ken is saying good morning.
Morning, Ken.
Dave Averman said morning, guy, and then
Hey,
corrected
Dave.
it and said guys. Roy, morning, fellas. And then my wife said, if anyone would like to help tonight or tomorrow before the next batch of wind or storms.
Nice. Look at her soliciting public assistance there. Good for her. I ended up doing all this, and I had cut all of these pieces of the floor. I had cut 3 pieces of the floor out, and I obviously removed them from the floor. And as I was trying to put them back into the floor,
They grow.
they grow.
The magic.
They're magic. And I run into that issue where I've done all the reinforcing, I've done all the gluing, I've done, everything I'm going to do, and I go to put these pieces that I've cut out back in, and I'm at that last point where I've got a hammer and I'm hammering on that inch plywood.
I love that you cut literally an 1/8 inch all the way around it to cut it out, and then it doesn't fit going back in. You're like, how?
Yeah.
How does this not fit?
And so I finally, in like you in the glass, I decided, you know what? I'm walking away. I can just put fresh wood back in there. I'll take new cuts. I'll just put fresh wood back in. And so I was hammering, and I probably got to the inappropriate level of exacerbation because I'm just smashing the crud out of.
Did you
these
break the
floor-
ends off?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
I splintered the ends. I splintered everything. I was like, you know what?
I've been there.
I'm just gonna cut a new piece. I'm gonna walk away for tonight.
Yep.
Yep.
And as a side note, I have been cutting most of my house project, which is going on months and months and months. I'm working off of a singular multi-use Milwaukee blade, right? Now, we upgraded blades in Jason's saw to Diablos, and we're pretty happy with those. I used a Craftsman plywood blade to try and cut some of this stuff. Garbage.
I agree.
Garbage. I
agree.
was at Lowe's. I was like, hey, I'm going to try a new blade.
Those blades are cheap for a reason.
They're cheap for a reason, folks. Well, my thought process was I just had come from Harbor Freight myself.
Yep.
We all could have caught up for coffee. Really.
Apparently.
And I just come from Harbor Freight myself, and I thought if I was mentally prepared to buy a Harbor Freight blade, then I should buy a Craftsman blade because I want them to be the brand that they once
I actually
were.
reflected on this ironically myself as I had to fix my house, and I'm cutting a board, and I look at my dad's saw, and it says Craftsman, made in USA, and I go, wow, that's an old saw.
We've come a long way, right?
We really.
I
tell
smoked
you-
this Craftsman blade after like 5 cuts.
Yep.
I'm I'm so frustrated. with them.
The blades that I found at Lowe's that I like the best right now are the spiders.
Oh, okay. I saw them advertised. They're cheap too,
They're-
honestly.
For the price,
For
they last a while.
Interesting. I picked up an Irwin for vinyl siding. My wife and I took some time off trying to
I could have
get
just
ahead.
lent you one of those. I've got one.
Of course you do.
Well, I
It comes
might end
free
up,
with your pro account,
I
right?
literally have the spider blades I can get free right now with my bonus points.
Nice.
boy.
Nice.
Flexing.
Long story short, it took some time off to try and do devil into detail work. We're at this point of trying to figure out kind of retrofitting some of our utilities back into the house. So,
Real quick, Brad Davis says, "Good morning, fellas. Just so you know, this show is the best part of my Monday. I appreciate you guys and what you do."
Brad,
Thank you.
we thank you so much for your support and following along and being part of it.
And
That
it's-
is our objective, right?
Absolutely, and it's your guys' support that allows us to keep doing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally drives and motivates. And folks who are listening to us in your ear holes, on your commute, on your flight, we thank you as well. You can always join us, just like some of our other listeners and followers, live on Facebook at 1019 on Mondays. If you're listening to this in the future from now or on a different day, it will go up by Wednesday for folks who want to review it and listen to it or download it and listen to it again. And again, I think it's valuable we jump into what's going on in the Jeep community and our Easter eggs in general.
Real quick, too, Darla said she actually has to make sure to get up kind of early to watch this.
There, well, that's right.
We
She works
appreciate
a different shift, so we appreciate you joining us. There will not be an episode next week, and if
Correct.
we didn't mention that, we will be taking some time off for Easter ourselves here.
That
at
is
the
why you're
shop.
getting some Easter stuff today.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's right. So, EJS is going on right now, and some of the big movers and shakers of the industry are converging in Moab right
right.
now for this week-long event, which will kind of culminate with an indoor expo.
What
this
year did
weekend.
this event start?
54, 51,
I don't know.
67.
67?
Really?
1967.
Officially, I was going on before that.
I
Maybe
thought
it's
I looked into
officially
the
in
history.
67.
I thought I had looked into the history some years ago, and it was, and
'Cause Jeepers have been getting groups together and going out that way for
yeah,
ever.
and I don't doubt that 67 or the 60s has.
It was 1967, started out as a one-day affair when the Moab Chamber of Commerce organized the event to attract tourists.
There it is.
Interesting.
There's
I
Jeepers doing it
think-
before that. I guarantee it.
I really think there's this story about a group of flat fender folks.
I remember watching the videos. Everybody's in flannel,
Yeah,
as we love,
as we should be.
as they should be, and they're all flat fenders.
Yes.
No
and
CJ5s are present. So it's earlier than 55. at that point.
correct. It's and that's what I recall as well.
Yeah.
And
love
so that
it.
there was a group, and it started out as a group, very organically getting together.
I don't even know
to-
if they were a club. It was just a group of people that liked each other and had Jeeps. And
Yeah, there's
went
some
and-
interesting videos out there on it and whatnot.
So Dale's also saying, I agree with Brad and make sure to schedule meetings for this time slot. Well, thank you, Dale.
We're so happy that we're part of
Yes.
your meeting scheduling, right? So EJS is going on, and Jeep in their best fashion gave us 7 quote unquote concept vehicles.
I'm gonna be the odd man out. I was disappointed.
No, you're not the odd man out.
Oh,
So
I was disappointed with it, too.
let's circle back to they gave us 7 concept vehicles.
Yeah.
That in itself is an Easter egg.
that's fine.
Additionally,
But didn't they do that last year, too?
I don't remember
I think it-
7
I
last
think it
year.
was
I thought
7 last year.
they
I
only-
mean,
I think it was 7
you
last
could
year,
go
too.
back.
maybe I was pretty
don't know if it was
underwhelmed as well then.
last year or the year before that, but we basically had a recipe and they just like added some different nuts
That's
and stuff to
fine.
the
And
recipe.
you know what? I'm
Literally,
not
this year's
going-
concepts are basically last year's, just
no.
boosted a little bit.
No.
Last year it was Wagoneer. This year it's a Cherokee.
Folks,
That's-
tell us
that's the
what
only
your
difference.
tell us what
No,
your
they still
thoughts
have
are.
the,
Right?
They have
in
the Grand
comments.
Wagoneer Overland is this year.
Right. I mean the old school.
Oh, the
That's-
old school, the
that's-
vintage.
The vintage is what I pay
Yeah.
attention to. You guys should not be surprised.
Well, no,
and
we're
and
not.
then there's the Magneto 3.0. They did
Wait,
2.0
right.
last year.
All
like-
right, wait. a second, wait a second. All right, whoa, you guys are off the chain, off the rails.
Because we're disappointed in
What
you, Jeep.
See you,
what
Jeep.
is an Easter egg? What is an Easter egg by our industry's
Something
definition?
laying in wait to you to find and be excited about.
Okay, great
A
definition.
hidden detail.
Hidden details. It's something that drives us as consumers to further bond with a brand or an activity. I think all three of our answers are spot on, right?
Yeah.
They compound each other. And you know,
And
honestly,
our country's been founded on the
our
on Easter
country,
eggs.
our country is founded on it.
Yeah,
that's true.
Disney, some of our biggest marketing and branding businesses utilize this to establish greater buy-in from their base.
Do you remember
right?
when DVDs first came out and they had all the hidden menus and Easter eggs in the menus? You had to go and find it.
Yep.
You could click the image instead of a title.
You mean like telling them about a podcast they can't see yet and they really want to go see?
Ish
Or that it's dropping on 4/19.
Right.
right.
Mm.
So
Hint,
so it's I love that you guys get me. and then people, as they get closer to the business or even me as an individual, they're like, oh, I
saw a piece of the onion.
yeah, right. I saw another
But
layer.
you don't see all the onion though.
So, and I
It's by
think
design.
I think that's what's fun about it, right? And it's about having fun, and it's
Yeah.
about encouraging further engagement, right?
Mhm.
And I
Absolutely.
think that what I thought was cool, and we did not do on our program as we did last year, was Jeep dropped little renderings.
Yep.
Mhm.
And,
And
I
we-
did not see the pomp and circumstance like we had in the past
No.
No.
of those renderings. For whatever reason, they didn't have the traction. They weren't released in the right places.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm not sure. But it has been fun to actually see the concepts in living color right now and go back and look at the renderings.
Well, because last year we previewed the renderings for a couple weeks. As they
Yeah.
dropped them, we would preview and tease what the rendering was and try to figure it out.
right.
Which
I
was
didn't, I didn't see that this year at all.
no, I didn't see that. So I think that 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, Rob, that is absolutely an Easter egg. He's asking, is a rust hole in his frame an Easter egg?
Yes.
That is an Ohio Easter egg.
That's
yes.
that's well, Rob is. Did he buy it in Ohio or because he's
I
in
don't know.
Pennsylvania? But that's a Rust
No.
Belt Easter egg.
Rust
Yeah,
Belt.
right.
Yeah,
right?
we'll go with Rust Belt.
That's a Rust Belt Easter egg, no doubt.
And then Darla asked if she's going to have an Easter egg to find.
Oh, you know what I think is
Sometimes.
funny, and folks, we're gonna kind of hop around a little bit because there are actual Easter eggs on your Jeep. There is myth or legend that they started under the TJ models.
I'd
I
say
don't.
they started way before that.
So the official where they
Yeah.
intentionally were doing it, I think,
Sort of.
was around the TJ era. But I think before Easter eggs were a known thing, that Jeep has been doing this for a long time.
Well, and I think it's like any other big brand. They recognize that those little details for that detail-oriented customer or that loyal long-term customer.
Yep.
Um,
I'll say that
That they'll
since they've been
appreciate it.
civilian Jeeps, there have been Easter eggs.
you think?
It says 7 slots. Because they didn't tell you what it was for. You created your own, but you put it out there for human consumption and allowed you to form your own opinion. And then they put Jeep on the front of the toolbox
Yeah.
In script.
and script.
Yeah.
They were doing it way back then, in my
Interesting.
opinion.
Interesting. Okay, I can dig that. That's a little more a bigger blatant.
Yeah.
But still has
Chuck's
the
calling
same...
me out on the TJ thing. He's saying, "Did you Google that, Jeff?"
I-
I did not.
He did not. He didn't do his production juggling, which
means
Jeff
it's-
is famous for, right?
Yeah, it means it's probably actually more accurate because I didn't Google it and get fake news off the internet.
nice. And JK owners and JL owners, your Jeeps are steep in little iconic imagery.
It's always cute when new person gets a JL and it's on a Jeep group. Look what I found. And everybody's like, oh boy.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw a JK owner find one of the little Willy silhouettes on their wheel. I'm talking, folks. This has been out since 2007.
Right.
Like
This
she's
has
like,
been
"Look what I
talked about
found."
before.
This, is like, this is not new. We need your youthful enthusiasm.
Yes.
right.
I love that
We
it's
do.
it's getting to the point that when they see that silhouette on the windshield and they're like, "Oh, I found my first Easter egg." Everyone's like, "That's not an Easter egg," because at this point, it's just factory equipment.
Right.
And-
I love that people are adding their own Easter eggs, though. You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
T-Rex is chasing the Jeep.
Yes.
Or the
I
Jeep
have the
chasing...
Raptors chasing them. Yep.
Of course.
Yes, or a fat trucker all
Yes.
over my little truck.
I don't know
I don't know what you're talking about.
all over my big truck.
For those that don't know, Neil took a time off for when you had COVID,
COVID,
wasn't
I
it?
was,
yeah,
I
he's
didn't
sick.
take time
Yeah.
off.
He was
I
course,
really get that
time off.
choice.
Harry.
I didn't really have that choice.
He got quarantined, and in the meanwhile, we decided to
You know, we were thinking of him.
we decided to litter his brand new International with these little hidden decals all over, and he still hasn't found them all.
No, I haven't. And they're
Yeah.
all little, 1x2 fat trucker guys all over the International.
As they should be.
in obscure little places, Pull the visor down. There's one. The center of the steering column. Oh,
He's
yeah.
found a few more, I think.
Yeah.
It's still not
Crazy.
there, though.
Crazy. So Jeep's been doing it for years. It's important to note that the one that is most credited to an individual, let's just say it where it's at.
Yep.
When the JL was released, there's a pair of sandals
Yep.
on the cowl that is in honor of what Rick Payway has done for
Yep.
our off-road and Jeep
And
community.
And that's JL and JT.
Yes.
And
yes,
it's
yes.
amazing what he has put himself through in flip-flops.
I think it's funny because
He
it's
needs
funny
a
that
free
a
pair at this point.
he should. It's funny that a corporate entity would endorse that, right? Because we're
Right.
always like, oh, don't do it in open toes, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out there cutting, grinding, and off roading in sandals. so-
Always.
yeah, that's a nice little piece there for them. But the Jeeps are littered with them, and Jeep has kind of become synonymous with giving us these breadcrumbs and allowing us to kind of actively engage with the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So circle back to our concept vehicles.
Real quick, I think one of my favorite Easter eggs that we've seen in the shop that just caught us off guard was when they had the Jeep logo on the drive shaft. Pulling the drive shaft, we're like, oh, hey, there's a Jeep logo
The
here.
headlights and bars is what
The head,
he's
yeah, it
talking
has the
about.
little 7
Yep.
slots and headlights. You're right.
Yep.
I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that was left there for when you're working on your Jeep.
It
Yep.
is.
Yeah,
It is.
and
That
that's
is-
exactly why it's there.
Yeah,
But
we
it's
see
just
you,
fun to see.
Mothership.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what it is. We see you, mothership. I'm cold and I'm
Yes,
frustrated
my
because
drive shaft just failed on
my
me.
drive shaft has failed on me. But oh look, they branded it. That's fun. You know what I mean?
Now I'll throw it away.
So we'll get into our concept vehicles, and you guys already started fussing about them a little
Yes.
bit.
Should we talk about our favorite ones before I completely burn it down?
You can. I actually, in my own interest, I was more fascinated with some of the branding or marketing that I saw coming out of their talking points.
Mhm.
And I'll get to that here in a second because they're using a new phrase or acronym that I haven't heard thrown around yet, and I will talk about that here in a second because that's my own really interesting thing. When I dissect what they're producing for everybody else, something else jumped out at me that I don't think is going to necessarily jump out at everybody else. So go ahead. What is your take on things?
So my favorite is obviously the full size Cherokee that's re-engineered to be on a 4xe chassis.
Yes.
I love that. I'm
Oh,
loving
yeah.
it more and more.
Yes.
Here's
Looking at you, Paul Clapp. We know what you're thinking when you see it.
it's not. I just knew that technology in an older wrapper and it looks appropriate. It doesn't scream to you from 50 feet away, hey, I'm modified. It's still iconic
Mhm.
vintage in that picture, and I'm really intrigued on this real nice marriage of full size and not only JKU but JLU chassis. Gears are turning for future stuff.
Without a doubt. So for those who are listening in or viewing the program now, if you're unfamiliar, they took like a 78, 79
I think it's a 79.
Cherokee Chief, which they found in some boneyard, reasonably rust-free by our standards.
Cheaters.
And right, and it was just 100% an original equipment Cherokee. Cherokee is a 2-door full-size Jeep,
Mhm.
and they kind of stretched and massaged the body. That the thing about the Chief, the electrified Chief concept, I think is. It really showcases a level. It made me think of you because it really showcased metal work,
Mhm.
right? Because they're using good steel at
Yep.
that point, right? We're not doing anything. It was steel of that particular era. This is not our modern day stamping technologies or
Yep.
anything like that. And they made it fit JL bumpers.
Mm-hmm.
They made it fit the wheel wells and the body mounts of the JLU chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went ahead and they removed this rear quarter panel, upper. Let's be like a C-pillar channel.
Yeah, reminiscent of the JLU tops that can slide apart. And I mean, I knew what they were doing. They were really integrated it well. They did a good job.
What I think is part of their Easter egg issue, and we now know some of the guys who help build and make these things come true, but they never credit builders. Right, so SFJ 4x4 constantly credits our builders, whether it be you or Greg or Jeffrey. I am constantly talking about, this is the guy, this is the face, this is the person who worked and their hands were all over this build.
Yep.
Jeep almost never credits. It's this ambiguous. This was just created into existence, right?
Yep. The only part I hate about the Cherokee is the fact that we just had a Wagoneer done the same way previous years, and it kind of takes the thunder away from it.
You think?
I don't know, because I thought that one was really well done overall.
It is. It can't stand on its own because it just came on the heels of Wagoneer.
I feel like it does.
The problem I have with this one is I feel like there's so much more detail in this one as far as how they integrated the interior roll bar, that removing of the rear panel. If you look at the fitment of the sheet metal around the bumpers and the wheel wells, that's spectacular work.
They
the
did
craftsmanship. I want to know who was on the back end massaging that metal. Do you know what I mean? Because that was a true build, to integrate that level of electrification and chassis into that Jeep and then make it wholly functional.
Totally.
Now, it is important to note they don't have a rear seat in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they, they mounted the full-size spare back there. It is on 37s, I recall.
Which is hard to do.
Which is hard to do on those bodies.
Yep.
So
and it has a 2.0 turbo with 2 electric motors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And big wheel well openings, which again would be a lot of metal work.
I think besides that one, because that was definitely my favorite as well, I think the one that looked the most fun to drive to me would be the Scrambler 392.
I was triggered by the Scrambler.
I was triggered by the Scrambler as well.
To me, it looks like they're making fun of Tesla because of the body lines. I don't like the body lines.
If they Scrambler, I could have liked it.
If
Correct.
they didn't call it a Scrambler.
I agree.
It's not a Scrambler.
Don't call it a Scrambler. Mothership, I'm not happy
Scrambler.
with you.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But it still looks fun to drive.
Yeah. I can't.
So
I want to.
It's the one that had me the most, the most in up in arms.
Yeah. It really reminds me of the Hurricane when it had the 2 Hemis. I hate to say it.
It did.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like that. It harkens back to it. Does it have some of the Tesla feelings? Is that intentional? Some of those body lines. They rake the windshield back an extra some degrees.
Done that almost every year, I swear.
A number of them, right? And and it's like, what the problem I have is it could have stood on its own. It really could have.
If they wouldn't call it a Scrambler.
Why did they call it a Scrambler?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I agree.
If you would have intentionally had this
doesn't have a pickup
obnoxious
truck box.
overhang box,
Yes, that was seen you.
I would have been
I
like,
bet all about it.
That's fun. That's an Easter egg. That's
Yes.
pays homage.
Yeah, but
to
there
that
was
original.
nothing. There wasn't anything about that screamed Scrambler at
Right.
all.
No.
Put it on 40s. Give it huge wheel wells. Give it an extra, too much, junk in the
Play
trunk.
with it.
If you're gonna call something a Scrambler, do that. But don't do a bobtail with these really aggressive, sharp lines.
Well, and then they did
highly aerodynamic stuff.
Then they did that Grand Wagoneer with the Overland package, and I'm like, that's cool, but that's just a package.
Let's just.
To me, I saw it, but I was like, "Well, is it a Jeep? Isn't a Jeep? We're picking when we're done making the Jeep or not."
I want to get to that one and spend a little bit of time on it. The one that I just want to really make fun of is the purple Jeep.
The Rubicon 4xe.
Yeah, it was just purple.
Yeah. What? The grill's different. That was the highlight of it. The new.
If you didn't
grill.
see, all the JL guys were all talking about grills.
Oh God, I'm just not here for that.
I don't like it.
I'm not. I forgot about they're doing extra inches. The bars go extra high or extra low or something.
I was
something minute that really
I
does
was
not
lost.
affect my daily.
To me, it's more compact. I think they squished it.
They
It looks
did.
squished.
I think you're right. It's more like the
a heavier chin or something.
I just don't. I'm not
nope.
interested by that kind of stuff. But arguably, that Rubicon 4xe concept was the big baseline of that was them trying a new color, right?
Yeah.
They were
Yep.
really beta testing a color. We saw the
They
success.
had 6, and they're like, it'd be fun if we had 7. Let's hurry up and make.
No,
a
we
7.
have to. Right. I feel like that's exactly what that is.
Yep.
I feel like that's exactly what that was, hey, we're out of ideas.
Yes.
What do you guys
We're
want to do?
tapped.
And somebody was like, well, you know what would be really cool? Let's do a new color and
Yeah.
try it out at EJS. And so the issue is Tuscadero was
Yeah.
phenomenally popular.
It was-
Almost an Easter egg in of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100%.
Like the Mojito
Yeah.
in 19.
Yep.
We have these colors. Now, if you are unaware that the mothership at a truly corporate conglomerate level was iconic for Plum Crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Plum Crazy was this Mopar purple.
Yep.
And much like a Chevy orange
Yep.
or the Ford blue,
Yep.
Plum Crazy is an important part of Mopar's history. And what I understand from a number of schools of thought was that this was an attempt at kind of playing
ish.
with the Tuscadero success.
Yep.
And not exactly going, hey, we're just going to call it Plum Crazy.
But we could have just painted the Scrambler that color and not had this concept.
Ken is saying like the amp color in 14.
The
Yes.
amp color in 14, which I
I
think
mean, they've
Ken
done this
had.
forever.
Yeah, they've done these different colors that drive sales, that drive talking points, like we're doing right now.
Yep.
And ultimately, they slapped that on there with a little bit of a different grill, apparently, and called it a concept vehicle.
Yeah.
I was most disappointed in the Scrambler titling. Go
Yes.
back to that
Yep.
It was
podcast
a cool vehicle,
title.
just not a Scrambler.
Just not a Scrambler.
I'm just
Don't
gonna-
call it a Scrambler.
I'm going to throw one other out there. The you talked about they ran out of ideas with the Rubicon. Well, they ran out of ideas with the Gladiator too. Did you see what they did to that? The sideburn.
Sideburn?
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
all
put
right,
a custom
let's-
bed on it and move on.
So we have the sideburn.
That's literally what it is.
It's 100%.
We have
And
the
grill.
sideburn, and we
Bed
have
and grill.
Yes.
the we haven't got to Magneto, sideburn.
Which is just a Scrambler
Departure
with
was-
an electric motor.
The idea of the departure one was actually kind of neat.
We'll leave the departure a
Yeah,
little
we'll
bit
talk about-
later.
yep.
Last, I want to talk about that one last. So we have sideburn, and we have the Overland, and then Magneto to chat about, and then final we'll talk about the departure. So you had already started to talk about the Wagoneer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you're unfamiliar, Wagoneer was released. This is one we were talking about recently where, we're talking about $100,000 vehicle
Yep.
For Jeep. And what is their intention? Who are they marketing that to?
Yeah.
Why
They're
are...
confused right now, though.
It's a very confusing thing. And I feel like...
the owners are like, "What? What was that?"
So-
I feel like I'm confused more by this Overland package.
I think the
100%.
best part about the Wagoneer is one of our previous episodes. We talked about Wagoneer and how they're not branding it with Jeep anywhere on it.
And then
My
here it
brother
is.
called me up after listening to that episode and he goes, "Wait, that SUV that I've been seeing around everywhere is actually a Jeep?"
That's actually a Jeep.
I'm
Yeah.
like, "Yep, it's a Jeep." He's like, "I would have never known that."
So now all of a sudden, we're
embracing the Jeepness.
we should embrace the Jeepness.
Yes.
Right.
What?
It looked cool.
It looks super cool.
To me,
the
that
people
was
that bought a Wagoneer right now are going, "What's that?"
yes.
yeah.
I didn't buy mine to do that. I bought it
A
to go
luxury
to.
SUV.
I went to play golf and park next to G wagons.
Right.
Yes.
It's way too luxury for an overland vehicle.
So
Right.
the
And then
interest
they did the seats.
yeah.
And
in
we,
plaid.
We like the seats.
I love the seats in
But
plaid.
the guy that buys a Wagoneer was, what do I want this for? I want my supple leather.
Yeah.
So the
What,
only
plaid?
question is, are they actually trying to target market this? Because honestly, the overland market has a lot of money in it right now, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who are investing heavily in expensive camping, and
Like when you
Are
have a
they-
full length solar panel on the roof.
no doubt. And so the question is, are they actually saying, Are they trying to appeal to that market and go, this is a package that you could get out of our vehicle, much like the Sprinter van is multifaceted.
Will they actually do it though?
Well, will they get to the point where you can do a stripper package of the Wagoneer for this type of RV
For $70K?
Well, can it be an RV?
Yeah.
Right? Which is the issue. So if you're unfamiliar, folks, it actually has a full rooftop tent that is permanently affixed to the top. You actually access it via the sunroof.
Yeah, it's literally built into it. Yeah.
It is built as an RV, which I think it was interesting if you kind of step back and you look at it as an RV, a Jeep recreational vehicle, then it's kind of interesting to say, hey, it actually has the potential to be kind of a formidable overlander. Weight carrying capacity, towing, and you're driving it much like you would drive a Sprinter van.
Well, and they put the tow hooks on the front. They put the winch built into it. I mean, there's a lot of little features to make it more overland friendly.
I ever thought you could stuff on one of those.
I think it's they stuffed those
35-inch tires. Yep.
I mean, how did they get those on there? It was is an engineering feat.
Sledgehammer.
And then I kind of feel like you could pull an adventure trailer with like an outdoor kitchen and shower so that you pull up and you could camp out of the Wagoneer RV.
Oh, and with the towing on that, a little trailer like that, you wouldn't even know what's behind you.
No, you could have a quad or a small side-by-side, an outdoor kitchen, and you could authentically overland out of it.
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting. Now, could you really get off the beaten path like a two-door or maybe a lighter four-door? Probably not. That Wagoneer is going to be a heavy, big school bus. When the JKUs came out and we called them school buses or minivans, woo, that wagon's going to be a big Jeep on the trails.
Oh yeah.
But
not doing trails around here.
Yeah, but for the person who's
I would try it, but
you would. You'd pinstripe the heck out of your $80,000 Wagoneer RV,
I would.
But the person who's running a 4x4 Sprinter van, this might be a competitor, or at least gives you the idea that it could be a competitor.
Yeah.
I thought
agree.
That was kind of cool, you know? Practical. Here's the thing. In 05, when the Commander, I think it was 05 when the Commander was released, I was Team Commander.
Yeah.
And
then I got the C1.
And then, and it was, I wanted a Commander. When it was released, it was the biggest, heaviest, most expensive Jeep on the market at that time.
Yep.
And it failed miserably as a production vehicle. So for the sake that I want to see the brand successful, I want to see the Wagoneer do something productive, be more multifaceted than that G-Wagon competitor.
Totally.
But
this has Commander written all over it.
This has Commander written all over it. And those of you who were not involved in the Jeep world then, you kind of don't know how hurt I already am when I look at this and I go, well, you fooled me once, Jeep. You know, so I want you to be successful, but I am shy about it.
Just needs to be JX, just to
nice. So then we want to talk about Sideburns since you're a Gladiator guy and you jumped into that.
We can talk about. I don't like Sideburn. So
what is it? Well, you just don't think it was developed enough.
I think they were trying too hard, is what it comes down to. They basically put a custom bed that they're calling a Swiss Army knife because you can add a couple packs to it, roto packs. There's really just not that much extra in it.
Yes.
It feels like they tried too hard to make something cool. And
I mean, other than like the Cherokee and a couple others, it feels like they were rushed or something. Like they didn't have enough time or financial backing or something. It was like, let's do what we can do with a little bit. And I think that's what we're seeing the results of. A lot of recycle, a lot of what can we do with a get an impact but with minimal expense.
I think one of the few interesting points of it, and they used it on the one we're going to talk about later, but the fold down grill. I thought that was interesting. I feel like that was just slapped on after they created the last one we're going to talk about. They're like, oh, hey, we should throw that on this Gladiator to make it a little more.
I'm wondering how our conversation will change because I have an interesting perspective with the last one, the Dispatcher, and so I wanted to make sure we had an authentic kind of, hey, this is our initial thought process before we really started to try and unpack what motivations may actually be out there. But the Sideburn is a Gladiator. It has a fancy bed on it. The name is kind of a silly, kind of a play on the fact that it has this integrated step system at the bed itself, so that you could again reach a rooftop tent or some type of overland bed rack. Obviously,
for the bike rack, honestly, it has the bike tie-ins up there too. So
right,
Yep.
right. Well, and so ultimately, the Gladiator came out, and when it did, it really focused on a cargo carrying capacity market. So the guy who wanted an off-road vehicle, but also the ability to carry the dirt bikes, tow the small quad trailer, carry the bicycles, the kayaks, that kind of stuff, a little more so than our Wranglers have had the ability to do.
Totally.
They did not expect Jeffrey to turn it into a 3/4 ton work truck. That was not their intention.
Why not?
It just wasn't their intention originally.
Well, and then when they did this utility package on the Sideburn, they also mounted the tire up in the bed, so you lose all your cargo space at that point.
There it is. There's why he doesn't like it.
That's right. So,
it's not good enough to go to Lowe's.
That's right. You can't carry my lumber in that. I need to load it up with some concrete, guys. So
holes in the bed, they'll fall out.
So it's an interesting. It's kind of if you expected to get a Matchbox car set, it kind of reminds me of that.
100%.
I would agree.
It's fun. It's interesting. There's some interesting add-ons that push the limits of what an aftermarket product, a manufactured after product could be or should be.
Yep.
Again, when those Gladiators initially came out, every aftermarket manufacturer ran to put bumpers on it, to put bed racks, to put a cap of some sort on them, or enclosure. And so Jeep is saying, hey, you know what, we're gonna push that market a little, one step further with this Swiss Army knife bed on there.
Yep.
And so you're right, it does feel a little bit disjointed when you look at like the electrified Cherokee, or potentially what I'd like to move to next would be the Magneto, because I really do feel like, well, maybe we'll circle back to, there were some really authentic concept vehicles, like that Wagoneer is a concept vehicle, that full size rooftop tent. When you look at the pictures, that particular Wagoneer looks like it could be a New York City studio apartment.
Oh,
From
yeah.
the inside of the wagon to the rooftop tent itself.
Totally.
Again,
They upchurched the heck out of that.
they knew exactly who they were marketing to.
Yeah.
Even with the plaid in there, right? We're throwing a favor, an olive branch to the rugged individual.
They threw that in there for you two. They're like, oh, we know that those Jeep guys talk about us. We're gonna throw a little piece in for them to talk about.
That's exactly it, right?
Wagoneer
You know what I
actually
mean?
like.
But let's be honest. I mean, that guy who fancies himself a rugged individual who has made it as an exec of some regard.
A minimalist?
And, what's that?
A minimalist?
Yeah, but to say that he's not going camping in his $250,000 or $500,000 RV bus.
Right.
He's going out in his wagon, or his Wagoneer wagon. So there are these actual concept vehicles, and I feel like if we circle back, I don't know that Sideburn was the concept vehicle, but more of a display model, or a push the limit model a little bit, much like the purple Jeep was.
Yes.
Or push the conversation. And then we have back to a true concept vehicle of Magneto 3.0.
Yeah.
So I'm totally jazzed up about Magneto 3.0.
I could be.
Talk to me.
But
Tell me.
I'm
What are your
sad
thoughts?
that it's 3.0. It's like, this is the new version of that. It's like, it's not. This makes it all the more worse that it seems very recycled.
But it's 650 horsepower and a manual transmission.
But they
But
did,
you
did
can
that.
you can switch back to 285 if you want. They made it switchable.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
I get it. I see you.
They
but
gave
they
us
literally did that.
but they gave us a manual transmission with 650 horsepower of electric horsepower, which is not actually like what we were going to do. Geese horsepower, duck horsepower. Remember duck power before?
Duck power.
2.0 was 285, I think.
Right.
So
Something.
So all we
they've
did was give more horsepower.
Well, They took out the back seats. They moved the roll
okay.
bar,
Ooh.
and they tilted the window back a little more.
See,
I've never seen that done before.
Right. There was nothing special about this versus last year's, in my opinion.
Horsepairs.
Horsepairs and functionality.
Do
Meaning
you
our,
want
our
to
manual
use
transmission.
all your battery reserves now, right now?
That, I think-
Supposedly, the changes gave 20% increase in the usable energy and
no.
range.
What I love about it is the function over form. You're right. They didn't bring us something particularly aesthetically creative. They didn't really change up anything. I think their intention was we gave you that with the wagon, with the Chief, with the Cherokee Chief. I think they did it intentionally with the Cherokee Chief versus Magneto was all about performance.
Now,
We're saying, hey, we can be an electrified
I'm gonna say
performance builder.
I'm gonna say aesthetically, I really like it. The one thing that they did different this year is that they put a bed liner in the whole floor pan, and it's blue bed liner.
Of course.
So of course I like it.
So I heard is the one not called a Scrambler has a bed, but it sort of looks like the one that has Scrambler on the hood.
I think that's the only difference was the Scrambler prototype or concept vehicle was a 392 V8 and it's meant to look and sound cool.
Yep. It's the gas version.
It's the gas version of the Magneto.
Yeah.
And ultimately between us, they're all the Hurricane. As far as I'm concerned,
100%.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just they're
You're
all the
not wrong.
Hurricane.
You're not
the
wrong.
Hurricane when it came out in like 07,
Yep.
or Pork Chop.
Yeah.
Hurricane or Pork Chop were both reasonably revolutionary to that time, in my opinion.
And now we're
From-
recycling.
Now we're kind of recycling those aesthetics.
Yeah.
But I do feel like Jeep was trying to give us a handful of purely concept vehicles and then a few that were pushing conversation. And that's where I would like to get to finally the Dispatcher, right?
The Dispatcher is just cool. I like that one.
Why is that? Why do you feel that way?
I just the stance of it on 37s, the fact that they changed the location of that spare tire. It's mounted kind of in the tailgate at this point.
So did you see that the whole in the tailgate conversation is actually a product that, much like the bed extender racks, it can either be mounted inboard to give us and kind of goes in that space behind the seat.
Yep.
And or it can
Outboard.
be mounted outboard. The advantage, if you are unfamiliar, as we move the weight of that full-size spare inboard to the vehicle, it affects our roll center and kind of this wagging the tail
and what
conversation.
you're gonna drag on stuff.
And what you're going to drag
It
on
also
stuff.
improves the departure angle with what you're saying.
Right,
Yeah.
what Scott's saying. So for me, as an individual who has a 40 hanging as the rearmost of my vehicle, the thing is to have it so that it doesn't drag out a departure, it is mounted up high, which then affects my center of gravity and then my roll center. Also, as I corner on my vehicle, that is the last thing that is kind of tipping or tilting into a process, and so that affects our cornering, our pitch and yaw of the vehicle.
Right.
So when we move that inboard over the rear axle or
Yeah.
closer to over the rear
It
axle,
helps.
it helps.
Yep.
And this tailgate is a potential production item that a person could buy from Jeep. So this is where I wanted to get to. One of the things that I personally was unpacking. This is the first time that I have seen the acronym JPP used in a bunch of media.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that at all or not, but what had recently been considered the Mopar Performance products, they have now branded as JPP. Jeep
Performance
parts or
Yeah.
products. And I actually saw a number of higher level conversations using this JPP as if they were right in the arena with your standard, your JKS, your Terraflex, your Iron Rock, your Rock Crawler, your
I mean, you've tried to do this for
Rome.
years.
And this is the first time now when you look at these models here, the Dispatcher was all about products, accessories that the mothership was building.
So with those accessories, there's an accessory that they put on this that is the first time that is legal in all 50 states.
Okay.
The flat fender.
Mm.
They designed a body-colored flat fender for this, and it's the first flat fender of design to be legal in all 50 states.
Which is in our industry revolutionary.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
Additionally, is that fold down grill guard, which is what you'll see on the Sideburn as well. And the Sideburn was also, in my opinion, just showing off what you could do with a Gladiator.
Yep.
Because we already know Motobuild and Nut House and a couple other manufacturers are actually giving you aftermarket options to take the bed off of your Gladiator and put something different on.
Yeah.
Jeep is saying, hey, we see you and we can be competitive too.
Yep.
And that's what I thought was reasonably interesting about, they were showcasing actual products that they could be producing versus, say, the Magneto or the Wagoneer or that full
I just
rooftop
hope
tent on the.
if they go to do it, they actually make them available. Because I remember when the JL released, we traveled up to Michigan and we're so excited and went up to see the first time in the steel, the JL.
Right.
And there was a whole wall dedicated to
Performance products.
beadlocks, and all kinds of accessories. And then you never see them ever again.
Right.
And we've done, Mopar has done this with direct connection. Those are probably a word you guys don't remember. They had performance products then, and Mopar performance that rolled into that. So this is not the first time they've done this. This is the first time they've actually put Jeep in it. But actually make them available, guys. If you're gonna do it, do it.
Well, and I think that's the thing, is that I feel like in recent history they've been pushing a little more, showcasing these products and really trying to drive a buzz. And whether that is, and we know people at some of these executive levels,
Mhm.
and sometimes legal or bean counting or
And
just
all the reasons they have,
all the reasons that they
against them. I get it.
against
I do.
them. And we've had those conversations, but I think that they're trying to establish relevancy as to why this is viable, right?
Yeah.
Why they should be.
It's the
offering
lockers
this.
in the TJ on the Rubicon Trail before the Rubicon came out. I
Yes.
get it.
Yes. So I think there was a lot of interesting concepts themselves in that. I would almost argue that there was a little bit of an Easter egg in how they were marketing to us with, say, the JPP and the like. So, I think there is, value to that. And I look forward to seeing more coverage of these vehicles as the week goes, because they're going to take them out on the trails and
Put 'em to the test.
Put them to the test, right?
Mhm. As
So-
they should.
As they should, right? So I think we're going to be wrapping up here soon, folks. We're going to talk about hashtag not sponsored, but it is actually hashtag sponsored, because I am 100% talking about a product that we're doing in-house that I think is a really cool thing we're doing. So I'm not sure what our way to contextualize this, but hashtag sponsored.
We're still
by
going to
SFJ.
transition it. I don't care.
And now it's time for our product spotlight.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Spotlight.
Hashtag not sponsored.
All right. So one of the things that Davey has actually started to make for us in-house is these beautiful graphics. Right now, Scott is actually holding up 2, 3 of them. He's trying to hold up all 3 for the camera. For those that can't see, one is the state of Ohio with a Willys cut out of it.
As it should be.
Willie silhouette,
Yep.
absolutely. Which is an Easter egg on many of our JKs,
Yes.
right?
And then the next one is the state of Pennsylvania with a grill cut out of the front of that.
As it should be.
And then the final one is
It's Jeffrey's favorite.
the blue hand wave with the grill cut out of it, and then the SFJ 4x4
Yes.
name right below that. So what that means is that you can order these from us in most colors.
Yes.
Most colors are available, and you can get those onto your vehicle. Neil, you want to talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, I am. This was an initiative. We all know and love our Jeep tattoos, right? And that is accessorizing our Jeeps is an important part. It's synonymous with these Easter eggs, right? We are creating better buy-in with the vehicle, with the brand, with our community, and so. So people online are constantly, asking for graphics. You're putting a name or some type of lettering on your vehicle. And for us, we oftentimes would like to do some of that ourselves. And so we have played with this internally. We had an employee who got, a vinyl machine and had done some of this stickering for us in the past with some windshield banners and whatnot. We also have had friends and acquaintances provide some of this for us. We had a good customer recently make some really awesome vinyls.
Really awesome
right?
ones.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
shout out to Chip for that. So that's a cool piece that helps us have pride in what we do. So we have these great graphics that that kind of help brand our business. So like the hand wave with the SFJ 4x4 underneath of it. But we have some cool Jeep tattoos that you might just like for your Jeep or for your toolbox. And it helps, again, the Pennsylvania, the Ohio, because we are, close proximity to those.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have a New York in the future because of our big tri-state reach.
And if you wanted a custom state, I'm sure we could do that for you as well, so we could get your state. But also, you can choose which logo is silhouetted in it, which grill, so it matches your Jeep.
Right. We have the ability to do a heightened level of customization, which is what I really like. We have that creative control where we can play with it and better support our listeners, our followers, to say, again, this podcast is international. If you're somebody from Australia and you want SFJ, picked out of an Australia logo, we could do that and send it to you, a one-off piece. And that's really cool. We had a situation the other day. I was very happy. We had a Jeep on site that was going on like 2 years.
Yep.
And we did this stroker build for them.
Not that it took
And-
2 years to do the stroker
No,
build.
no. That was a purely a COVID issue.
Yep.
And we finally got the stroker motor back, and we were able to do the install. The guys did a phenomenal job, adapt and overcome on a bunch of things, and we made this Jeep just perfect, in my opinion, right? I was so proud. It was a big team effort. We made it really cool. I had wanted to do a graphic for the customer to kind of accentuate that a little bit, and I had forgotten.
Yep.
And I wanted it. The customer, the Jeep is totally murdered out, all blacked out and everything. Looks really cool. And I wanted to do kind of just a matte black or vinyl black thing. And one of the Savage that folks never really get to see on camera except for some of our YouTube videos, was able, while the customer was here doing their final pickup, was able to do like a really cool SFJ 4x4 4.6 stroker.
That's awesome.
And then, but wait, there's more.
Well, the customer loved it.
The customer loved it, but I always
he said it was the wrong Jeep.
I always use these Willie silhouettes as part of our branding, and I just because I like it, because it harkens back to that flat fender mentality. Customer said, "Can I have a Cherokee there?" And I was like,
yes, you can.
"Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Watch us produce it."
Yep.
And the Savage was able to do that for us and get those graphics for the customer.
Yeah.
Super cool. And now it's that Easter egg. It's black on black. It has a Cherokee on it. There's a lot of really cool things to see, and we were able to be part of that with our customers' experience. I'm very proud of that. And again, totally a complete team effort. Super cool stuff. Look for these graphics. We have some pre-made ones on our counter. You can add them on. Or if you're looking for something more customized, names, graphics, logos, that kind of stuff, we're happy to produce those for you as well. This was a fun one, folks. We hope that you have a happy, blessed Easter, and enjoy yourself. Spend some time with your family. That's what we'll be doing ourselves.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, not next week.
We will see you in 2 weeks, not next week. And we hope that you've enjoyed this. Watch for that EJS coverage. Tell us, in the comments or write into us. Send an email to our producer Jeffrey here at Jeff, JEFFC at SFJ4x4.com. Tell us what your favorite concept vehicle was, or
what you didn't like.
Or what you didn't like. It would be interesting to see that. Also, you can leave a comment below, whether it be on Facebook Live or on our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. And likewise, you can always reach us at our text-only number, 440-855-2100. And that's a text only, and it's 855-2100. We had a blast talking about this. I hope you did too. And have a great Easter. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.